Hey guys, and welcome to the podcast today. I have Ryan Burch coming out of Tempe, Arizona, and he is a marketer and he's going to talk to us all about ads, marketing, budgets. We'll talk about AI. The biggest question we have for the audience today are AI as well as is SEO dead. So I'm really happy to have him on to discuss these topics and questions. Ryan, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and briefly introduce yourself and we will dive into the questions.
Yeah, my name's Ryan Burch. I live in Tempe, Arizona. It is always hot here, but love it here. Wouldn't live anywhere else. I'm the founder of Toby Group. We're a marketing advertising consultancy based here in Arizona, but we've got basically worldwide presence. I've got people in, I think last time I counted, 9 different time zones. So yeah, really excited to be here. Obviously, it's a wild time to be working in marketing, wild time to be an entrepreneur. Obviously exciting with all the AI developments, but it's also a little bit scary because a lot of us don't know what's next.
Interesting. And so walk us through your typical client avatar, who they are, what their questions, what they're struggling with, and how do they come to work with you?
Yeah, I started the business as a fractional CMO. And so, in a lot of cases, the clients that are working with us, we are their marketing department. We have a footprint with a lot of service based businesses, multi location, privately owned service businesses. And that's one footprint. We also have a lot of ad agencies that actually white label the work that we do. So, my background is digital advertising. And so, many of the clients that we work with come to us first for digital advertising work, whether that's paid social media, Google, and paid search. So those are the two subsets, I'd say, that more full service fractional CMO agency model. But then also we're white labeled in a lot of cases by other ad agencies.
Interesting. And for people that are just trying to understand the terminology, the audience listening, what do you mean white labeled?
Good. Yeah, great questions. Ad agencies will pay us and pay our team to help them run their advertising. We've got expertise on part of the reason why I built the company is because I wanted to have really deep subject matter expertise in certain areas. And we do that by leveraging consultants and freelancers. And because we have this model, we're able to get really specific in the type of work that we do. So that might be a really unique paid social campaign. That might be us auditing and fixing analytics for clients. So one of the big things that we do right now in what we call white label capacity is we're actually going through and auditing and setting up and fixing clients' analytics, whether that's Google GA4, Google Analytics, or setting up all of the conversion tracking that's really at the root of some of these ad platforms. And that's work that agencies can sometimes do on their own, but they bring us in as an outside consultant to white label the work that we're doing so that we can really apply the right level of expertise for their clients.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, thanks for clarifying. And so walking us through, because I really love taking the listener through a customer experience journey, learning what you do. So maybe they have questions or they want to connect with you or work with you. And what are your clients struggling the most with now? What are their biggest questions?
It's interesting. I started the business just over 6 years ago. And one of my favorite things to say is that you can't use advertising to solve your marketing problem. So, a moment ago, I told you that a lot of times clients come to us first because of my background in advertising. But when we start peeling back the layers, usually there's something else that maybe is causing poor performance on Google or poor performance on Facebook or whatever it might be. The first thing that we do is we really just try to approach the client's challenge without knowing anything else, try to identify if there's actually a marketing problem that is at play. And a marketing problem could be everything from pricing. It could be not really understanding the audience. So you might have a mismatch between what you think you're trying to sell and what that audience actually is actually looking for. So the first thing we do is we do a series of phone calls where we really dig in and try to spend more time on the needs analysis. We found that if you put more time up front, everything else falls into place. The other term that we use is we say it's inputs versus outcomes. you'll never get the outcome that you're looking for a marketing campaign if you don't understand and put in place the proper inputs. So most clients, they think they've got those inputs correct, but when we start to peel back those layers, they're either not correct or they're not being tracked properly. And so we spend a lot of time working on that for clients.
Interesting. I found it quite interesting because I was, I mean, you know, I've been interviewing just which agencies to work with, and some of them charge an arm and a leg. And it's actually, quite honestly, it's really complicated and it's very tedious. And you have this idea where marketing doesn't have to be this complicated. So, in addition to being this tedious and complicated, you throw in AI. So, where do you think marketing is headed towards, and how does AI fit into this picture?
Wow. Yeah, that's literally like $1 billion question, right? I have gone from really excited because I thought that AI could help us improve some of our processes to recognizing that AI could literally take our jobs as marketers. It has gotten really good. Some of the tools that are out there are truly excellent, but it still becomes a matter of inputs versus outcomes, right? You could give somebody the greatest tool in the world, but if they're not able to use that tool properly, they're never going to get the same outcome. My team and some of the consultants that we work with, if they're working in ChatGPT or they're working in Claude or whatever it is, we could get a completely different outcome from somebody else who's maybe not as well versed in asking the proper questions. So you have to really understand those inputs. And to go back to that, that comment I made about audience, look, if you truly have a marketing problem, you can keep stacking all kinds of different strategies and campaigns and content. People they want AI to just turn out content or new ads. There's this feeling, I think, sometimes that rapid iteration can solve problems. And I think in some cases it can, but some of those things that you're solving are really incremental changes where if you were able to go back to the basics and use AI to ask some new questions about audience or use AI from the proper brainstorming standpoint, you probably actually improve your marketing and improve the overall campaign by leaps and bounds, other than what you're able to do to just use it as an execution device.
Interesting. Yeah. So the other question I have for because the audience, a lot of them, again, they're thought leaders and influencers, and some of them are just, they're not going to pay for ads. Actually, if you actually use ads, it actually helps grow and scale if you do it correctly. But a lot of them, they're like, I'm not going to pay for ads. I'm not going to pay for marketing. I'm going to just do it organic. I'm going to try and game the algorithms. What, for those that want to go from this organic, slow growth to actually just start their growth with ads, how does one know when to start using ads or how to use them correctly?
Ads aren't right for everybody. I will be the first one to say that. We turn down a lot of clients because they do sometimes the exact opposite of what you're saying is true as well. So we'll have somebody come to us and they'll say, hey, I just turn on ads. It's going to solve everything. How do you know when to? I think you know when to turn on your ads when there is alignment between where your audience is spending time and the ability to get your message in front of that audience. Okay. And I think that's a really challenging question for some of our clients to answer sometimes. They haven't really taken a step back and tried to identify who their best customers are and who they want their customers to be. So sometimes your current customers aren't your ideal customers. And sometimes those ideal customers and your best customers are different too. What I would say is if somebody's thinking about, hey, should I turn on ads or should I not turn on ads? It's really important to first take a step back, identify who you want to be in front of, and literally just map a day in that person's life. So think about that person that you're trying to be in front of. What do they do exactly with the moment they wake up? What does the first 5 minutes of their day look like? What does the next hour of their day look like? How are they getting to work? You start to map that full day out, and you have to put yourself in that person's shoes. Then you can identify if there's certain parts of the day where maybe there's a point where you can get your paid advertising message in front of that individual.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because I was talking to another guest and he was saying that once you have a clear offer and that has alignment with your audience, then ads will basically spice everything up. But if you don't have that, you're gonna waste your budget. What are some of the biggest mistakes in digital advertising and some of the things that the listeners should be cautious of and cognizant of?
Number one is conversion tracking. When it comes to digital advertising, Google and Facebook and TikTok and all of the different ad platforms, they have gotten to a point, just like AI, where they are really good at what they do. But you have to provide those systems with the proper inputs. So if you haven't spent a lot of time identifying on your website or wherever you'd like that sale or conversion to happen, if you haven't done a good enough job of identifying that and feeding it back into the digital advertising platform, you're just never going to be successful. Okay. Because it's working off of poor data. And that's part of the reason why we invest a lot of time on the analytics side of things. So our setup process is actually a lot longer than typical ad agencies in the typical setup time for campaigns, because we really double down on making sure that stuff's correct. Second thing is what we've already talked about, right? It's the audience and aligning audience with the ad campaigns itself. Promotion, obviously super important, making sure that your message has alignment, and then figuring out what that optimization schedule needs to actually look like. Okay. I think a lot of times in traditional advertising and in the old days, there was this, all right, let's turn ads on. Let's see what our ROI is. All right. If you don't start with a good enough goal, you're never going to hit that ROI. That stuff all needs to be plugged in at the very beginning, and it needs to be optimized toward in real time.
Interesting. So two scenarios I have for you. And first one is, for example, let's say there's like, for example, YouTube. Now they have a promote portion of their, and basically you can promote your popular videos and that can either get more views or
Sure.
more watch time or more subscribers. But let's say a creator influencer is struggling to grow their channel, so they're using this promote, not really trying to drive sales, but just, is that in the AdSense because they're getting more subscribers and their channel's growing? But what's better, more sales, less views, less followers, or more followers, views, and less sales?
It depends on the company, right? So if there's an influencer that is looking to sell multiple courses over time or build a community over time, I think that the first thing that you mentioned might be better, right? Hey, get more views, build that community, really try to set up like that audience, because they can dip back into that audience. You're never going to hear me fault anybody for growing their audience or using paid media to grow their audience, right? I think that's always an excellent route to go. But for the business owner and the entrepreneur, the small business, you don't have time, you don't have money to play this long game sometimes. So it's, yeah, hey, I just need to sell. I need to sell one ebook. Hey, I need to sell 3 widgets tomorrow to keep the lights on. You can have all the followers in the world, but those 3 widgets need to get sold. And I think that's maybe an argument against some of the people that are really investing all of their energy into social media and trying to grow their organic social media reach. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work to do that. And
Yeah.
it's not that's not good work, and it's not that you shouldn't continue to do that, but you have to be cognizant of, is that actually going to keep the lights on next week? So
Yeah. And then a follow-up question I have for you is, because you said there has to be proper alignment between your offer and your audience. But let's say the influencer creator wants to start thinking about going from the organic to paid ads. What are your thoughts on, for example, instead of spending $100 on a budget, making your budget like $10 and seeing it and then optimizing it, and if it works, then scaling up? What are your thoughts on that?
I like starting slow. And that's probably because I'm a little bit more pessimistic as a media buyer than most. Typically, even some of our ads folks, they want the all budget. They want to go all in all at once. Again, as a business owner, I'm more cognizant of what that ad spend could or should be doing. Until you start to dip your toe into certain channels, you don't know if it's necessarily going to work. I would really urge people to figure out what some of those mini conversions might be, or some of those little mini KPIs could be along the way. So if you have $100 a day or $50 a day or something like that to invest, identify how long you want to test that. Maybe it's a couple weeks. identify the one or two things that you want to see happen to basically prove that you're in front of the right people. That might be website visits, that might be certain actions that are taking place within your social account, that might be downloads of some type of lead magnet or explainer. So figure out what maybe some of those micro conversions could be first before you jump all in and try to sell something. I believe in just ramping up slowly, testing it out first. You can always spend more money. It's a lot harder to realize that you went through 5 grand or 10 grand and then without any learnings from it.
Interesting. Yeah, and I know some people in the audience, they were asking, how do you know if your marketing is working? So you answered that. If somebody, for example, a doctor or a lawyer, they don't have much time.
Sure.
And if they're listening to this and they wanted to double their business's marketing, advertising results, and they have half the time,
Yeah.
and let's say they just want to, they're on a limited budget, what should they be focused on first?
It depends on the business, right? I think the first thing is making sure that you've got the right teammate, partner, professional skill set to do what you think that you need to accomplish. Okay.
Mm.
And look, I, as a business owner, I'm a victim of this too, right? We all think that we can do more than we could do. But if you just hired the pro, how much further along would you be? This happened. I've got a rental house. This happened to me last week. Yes, I could figure out how to put all the papers in at my rental house. Okay. But is that the best use of my time? It's going to look like crap when I get done. It's going to take me way longer than it maybe should have. And in the interest of doubling my business, I would have been way better off just bringing on somebody who that's their real specialty. So I would just be really cognizant of that. I think a lot of small business owners know a family member, or they know a family member, or so-and-so's niece or so-and-so's cousin does social media or does these things. And then that person gets saddled with a lot of work that maybe they aren't best suited for. So I would just say, make sure that you've got the right partner or pro to accomplish the task that you think that they need to accomplish. And that might cost double. It might cost double, it might cost triple. But what's the cost of not doing that? What's the cost of not thinking through, hey, can I just get this done for cheap? And it's just interesting because the lawyers and the doctors that are truly the best at what they do and charge the most are also the ones that aren't paying the most or aren't really willing to invest in some of these things for their own business. And again, we're the exact same. We didn't have a website. Here we are, a digital advertising agency. We didn't have a good website for the first 4 years that we existed. Now, we were dumping all of our energy into our clients, and that we still grew, but we all suffer from that, I think, as entrepreneurs. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think having great alignment with the partner that you choose is really important.
Yeah. And because I asked that question because a lot of doctors we're conditioned to think and train we can do everything on ourselves. And the other question, because you mentioned website versus social media, and I was talking to another doctor the other day, and she was saying she doesn't have a website because she thinks that websites and blogs are dead, and she's on social media. But social media it's really hard to grow unless you are famous or you're physical, you have something, you're a celebrity.
That's right.
What are 15 tools that actually move the needle now?
Yeah, 15 is a lot. I would say, I think taking a step back and thinking about how you choose to work with any service or any business is really important in these cases. If I go to social media and I'm familiar with somebody and I like what they're saying and they're providing a ton of value on their social media channel, I might be willing to work with that person. Okay. But if I go to their Google business profile and they have really crappy reviews, it doesn't matter if I like what they're saying on Instagram. Okay. Let's use this landscaping example I gave a moment ago. If I go to a website and I see really great photos of similar things that I'd like to see at my house, either on social media or a website or whatever it is, then I'm more likely to utilize that service. It's the same thing with a doctor or any professional service, right? You have to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, no matter what channel you're on. And so neglecting something like a website or neglecting something like reviews just feels like a really risky path to go. blogs might be dead. AI might be solved. AI might just take over the internet. But AI is pulling from all of these different sources of information. A lot of doctors probably don't have a LinkedIn page. Okay.
Yeah.
Or their LinkedIn page doesn't have any experience, or it's all that's on there is just the practice that they've owned for 15 or 20 years. They've never posted on it. There's no photo of them. That's a huge gap. That's a huge opportunity, especially as these AI platforms have come out and they have said, we are pulling information from LinkedIn. And so when you don't have that set up, that's a huge gap in your marketing, right? You cannot neglect any of these tools anymore. Even if you think that they're dead, there's still going to be a reason for them. Now, it's easy for me to say that as the marketer, right? Like, how do you know which one to choose? How do I know if it's LinkedIn or YouTube, or should I spend time on TikTok? You've got to go back to your audience. Okay. And if you're a plastic surgeon, your audience might or might not be on TikTok. You've got to look at your ideal customer. Again, think through what they're doing every day. Are they jumping on TikTok? Or are they jumping on Facebook? Are they Snapchatting their friends, or are they not Snapchatting their friends? Depending on what those demographics of that customer base is, that's going to give you some clues on where you should spend maybe the most time on a digital platform.
Yeah, I love that. Another question, because we alluded to at the beginning of the episode, is Google SEO dead, given now we have large language models?
Yeah, look, another $1 billion question. Today, right, this is 2025. I would actually argue that SEO is more important than ever, but there's very specific things within SEO that matter more than ever. And that's more the brand building aspect of SEO. We are advising our clients to invest very heavily in things like public relations, to invest very heavily in things like just branded social media, talking about yourself, talking about your services. There's almost this kind of reversion back to very basic marketing principles. Are you in the right place? Are you saying the right thing about yourself? But the reason why we're telling our clients to invest more in PR and more of some of that outward media is it's mattering less what you say about yourself and mattering more what other people say about you. So gathering reviews, having a really good process to do that, using a quick QR code on a business card. That's all it has to be. Making sure friends, family, relatives are talking about you, even if they haven't used your services, talking about you as a person, talking about why you trust them. These are layup type things that most businesses aren't doing. They're not going and getting those first 15 or 20 reviews. SEO is just changing. It's reverting back to some of these more brand building types of techniques.
Interesting. And I know we're running out of time. But if people wanted to connect with you and follow up with you, reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, best thing is our website, honestly, tobygroup.com, TOBIEGROUP.com, tobygroup.com. And by the way, if anybody wants to just check on their ads, we've got an ad audit that's on that site. I think it's 29 questions. You go through it, answers, gives you an idea of where you see it. So yeah, feel free to check out the website. Best way to get a hold of us is there, obviously on LinkedIn as well, but all our socials are on the website.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on and showcasing your expertise, and keep up the great work.
Great. Hopefully it was helpful for you guys.